Before we begin, I'd like to make some clarification and also to apologize to some of our resource persons and media present here today. We initially planned to start at 9 a.m., but because of the holiday last week, we weren't able to give the information early enough. So there was a bit of miscommunication, but now we are at starting exactly now at 10 a.m. Magandang umaga po sa inyong lahat. The Committee on Public Order and Dangerous Drugs, the Committee on Peace, Unification, and Reconciliation, and the Committee on Finance is resumed. In the resumption of our hearing on the Mamasapano incident, I would like to request my colleagues to focus on matters that had not been discussed or questions that have not been asked or sufficiently answered. I also would like to make some clarification on important matters that could provide the framework for today's hearing. Number one, for the AFP, were the grid coordinates given by Director Napeñas in the morning of January 25th on the position of the 55th Special Action Company, upon which information from Senior Superintendent Talino went personally to the mechanized brigade to ask for support and reinforcement, sufficient to give the AFP guidance to fire artillery? What is the difference in the situation between the information on the position of the 55th in the morning of January 25th and the position of the 84th in the afternoon around 5 p.m., when the AFP was able to drop white phosphorus which reportedly drove away their pursuers? Number two, the SAF in the early morning of January 25th was also requesting for air support. Did the AFP have MG-520 attack helicopters in West Mincom on that day at its disposal that could have been scrambled for the purpose? Or was it even feasible to deploy the MG-520s under the situation then prevailing as far as the 55th SAC is concerned? Number three, I understand that the American Armed Forces, like the Joint Operation Task Force Philippine based in Zamboanga, could help in training and intel swap with their own military under the framework of the Visiting Forces Agreement. But what I want to ask the Department of Foreign Affairs, the DILG, and the VFA-COM is under what legal framework or arrangement could the American military train and engage the civilian Philippine National Police? How about the FBI? I heard about the Anti-Terrorism Assistance Program, ATAP, that is supposedly the basis for the American government for their part to engage with the PNP on the counter-terrorism. Can the DFA, DILG, or the Anti-Terrorism Council enlighten the committee if there was really such a program officially acceded to by the Philippine government? Number four, the OPAP and the Peace Panel, with all the submissions by experts before the committees on the BBL that there are serious constitutional challenges facing several provisions of the same. This is on top of the adverse public reaction brought about by the Mamasapano incident. Where do we go from here? How do we plan to make the whole process and the final product, which is the BBL, most probably amended accordingly, acceptable to the public and the MILF that would still attain the genuine peace that it aspires for? This could be discussed in subsequent hearings by the Committee of Senator Bongbong Marcos or perhaps the Committee on Constitutional Amendments. Number five, in the report submitted by General Galvez of the CCCH to General Katapang, it contains an observation on the positions of the remains of 7 SAF members belonging to the 55th Special Action Company during the retrieval operations, which may indicate that they were not killed in action but could have been tortured to death. Can you explain this observation, General Galvez? Is it also true that the artillery support was ready at 6 a.m., but the military was requested by Brigadier General Galvez of OPAP to wait and give way for the ceasefire mechanism to take place? Number 6, from our last public hearing, I asked General Purisima if he informed the President and gave him updates on the 25th. We will now ask him to read his text messages with the President on the 25th and share relevant information leading to the 25th. Finally, with the threats raised by many sectors from either side of the fence that the passage or as well as the non-passage of the BBL would result to renewed war, true or not, I would like to ask our security sector if we are ready to address whatever eventualities that may ensue, because I believe that the AFP and the PNP should rise above this Mamasapano incident and anchor on previous coordinated successes to enable us to work together to secure the nation in case of any threats. Before we start, I also gathered from news that the Board of Inquiry is scheduled to come out with a report by next week. May we request then our Director Magalong to please furnish this committee with the same to form part of the record. I also received a request from the AFP if they can do a short presentation, a short one, I may stress, before our questions, and we will allow that. But you also sent a request for an executive session. We will decide on that at the end of this hearing. In the meantime, I would like to, the rules still remain the same. Each senator will again be given 5 minutes each for questions. If this time is not sufficient, we will have a second round and they may avail another 5 minutes for questioning. We shall use the order of arrival as basis for the sequence of committee members to ask their questions. Now, with the questions I posted, we don't have to answer this all immediately. This is something that we should bear in mind during this hearing. But for today, I would like to request, this is the order of arrival. We have Senator Escudero, Trillanes, Angara, Gingona, Soto, Honasan, and Ejercito. So now we shall begin with our questioning. Before our questions, we shall now begin with the presentation of the AFP.
Madam Chair, prior to that, may I suggest that after the presentation of the AFP, can we have the respective responses of General Purisima as well as General Galvez on the 2 points that the Chair raised a while ago? After the AFP, Madam Chair.
Yes, Senator Escudero, we will do that. And any more questions before we begin with the presentation?
Madam Chair. I believe we have new resource persons, so they may take their oath. Thank you.
May we request the Secretary to please administer the oath? I think we have 2 additional resource persons, Yusek Evan Garcia from the Department of Foreign Affairs and Yusek Eduardo Oban from the Visiting Forces Agreement Commission. And for those of you who have not also taken your oath, Senator Soto, you have a question?
Just a little housekeeping, but I will tell you privately, Madam Chair.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in this investigation in aid of legislation on the Mamasapano incident? For the record, Madam Chair, the resource persons gave an affirmative answer.
May we request the senators that arrived to please move closer to the center of our table. Senator Angara, Soto, Gingona, Villar, and Trillanes, and Senator JV. I think it's better if we move closer so that